So, hello everyone and welcome back to Factorio. Let's click resume and then figure out where we left off, because it has certainly been a while. I believe we were over on Vulcanus trying to get this whole thing set up. And I think what I'd realized after last stream is that the entire way I'm doing this, I don't know if it scales the way I want it to scale. So the problem is, and it's not a huge problem, so we've got our lava, we turn it into molten iron, then we take the molten iron, then we turn that into iron plates and then chests, then we turn the chests into quality, and then yada yada. Now, the problem is twofold. So first of all, I don't know if iron chests are necessarily the recipe I want to be doing for this, because they can't be productivity moduled. And then secondly, if I want to scale this, which I do want to scale this, I need to scale all sorts of different pieces independently. So we need to scale up the recycling, and we need to scale up the chest production, and we need to scale up the molten iron production. And that's not like the worst thing in the world, but it is like a little bit annoying. So what I would like instead is, first of all, we figure out a recycling recipe thing that is still relatively fast, but uses productivity modules. So I think if we just get, I believe, like iron sticks, hopefully, should still be relatively fast. Okay, so this is literally 10 times slower than these, but it would use productivity modules, so I don't know how much of a good trade-off that is. Now, electronic circuits obviously require copper, so that's not really an option. Now, what about gear wheels? Okay, so gear wheels are better than sticks. So I think, so this is, what, 4 times slower than this? That's probably workable, at least to some extent. And they can take productivity modules, which will be better. So what I want to do here is, annoyingly, something which I set up previously and then ended up discarding, which I wonder if I just have the blueprint for that lying around. It's not that, it's not that. Is it anywhere in here? No, it doesn't seem to be. Alright. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to try to redesign it and figure out how exactly to make it work. But we want to go back to the, like, one recycler, one assembler setup, because I think that will lead to all sorts of useful things. So, step 1 is we need to just make this. I don't want to turn off the stuff that I have actively running for it. So you are going to do cast gear wheels. That's 10 to 1 molten iron to gear wheels. So this is 20 to 2. Now, the obviously inbuilt productivity bonuses from the foundries also are going to impact that. Okay, so this outputs 6 gear wheels per second, right? And we can obviously enhance that and quality module it and everything. So then we pop those into a recycler, which I guess we can probably just feed directly. Right, so it would be something like this. And then the recycler sends its output into a chest. And then we have you drawing from the chest. And then you put your outputs back into the recycler. Now, is there some, like, convenient way of doing this without a belt? And okay, maybe if we flip you, so if you're something like that, then we can just do that and have no belts at all, which is kinda neat. And now we need to figure out the whole system for this. Okay, so step one, actually, let's just get this going a little bit technically so that we can see the speeds for the recyclers. So we get all that in, and you then get pipes through. So this should start up once those pipes get built. And that's going to take a while unless we do that. So this takes 16 gear wheels per second, turns it into 8 plates per second. So that isn't so bad. Okay, so then let's just disconnect you so that you don't run more than you need to. And so then this is going to do Iron Gear Wheels recipe again and loop back. So this outputs 8 plates per second, but this can only take 5. So that's not good. That's actually very bad. Now, that means that we're going to need... Although, actually, no, because this foundry is the limit, right? So this is 6 in. So this is, like, a lot less than that. So it should work out as a loop anyways. So this should take 5, put 2.5 back. And so then we should have a total of 8.5, which is slightly more than half of this. So it should be like 4.25 plates per second, and this takes 5. So yeah, it should barely work out. And now we need to get the modules in. And all of you need quality modules. And we don't have any of those just left over here. No, of course not. Do any of these guys just have some of those? Which one of you is meant to be delivering those? I know somewhere here. Ah yes, transport platform. There we go. Send some quality modules down. And then go back to Vulcanus and see why are those not dropping properly. Oh, it's because there's just like also a massive delivery of coal to do. So the quality modules should show up soon. Yeah, they did get sent down. Alright, so we've got this set up, And this should just about work. And then what we need to do is swap it so that, like, I can't remember the exact correct ratios, but it's something like 1 each of those. It needs to be productivity modules in order to be correct. Now, you don't have any of those, right? But Novice does. I believe we have successfully crafted a couple of those, right? Yeah, we got 21 there. Okay, so that should be fine then if you head back to Novice and start making those deliveries. Okay, so now back to here. We need to work out this whole quality looping thing again. And what I think we do this time is we try to use logic which waits longer. So, if we get a decider combinator, and of course I just had to be sick for like a week, so I'm gonna be a lot rustier on this than usual. So, the decider combinator, we read from here, and what we need is we need a latch so that we only want to run if we have a large buffer of things, and we then want it to continue running on that recipe for as long as possible. So, how about we go... Let's start by just doing this, like, manually, maybe. So we go iron plates are greater than 1,000. Then you output a check mark of 1. And then you are or iron plates are greater than, say, 50, and check mark equals 1. So then you need to read back through yourself like that for it to work. So this should output the check mark if we have a large supply of iron plates. And then it should continue doing that until we have a small supply. Now we need to figure out how to get this to work for all the different qualities. Now, I think we just need to have like individual decider combinators for each. So if we copy paste those across, and they each read like that, and then the input signal goes into all of them. Now these are going to read and be set to uncommon, and these are going to be set to rare, and these are going to be set to epic. And this last one, we probably... Wait, did I miss one? No, I just wrote in here twice. Okay. Yeah, so you need to be uncommon. Okay, so now this will check when we have 1,000 of something, and then it will run until we have 50 of that thing. Now that's obviously not exactly going to work, because first of all it's going to take like 1 billion years for us to get to 1,000 or something, and secondly, these each only output check signals. So then we need this to output a signal related to the specific item, but we don't want that to get looped back into here. Although it should be fine, probably. It should be fine if it's just one. So this will add like 1 iron plate of each quality onto the list of things that it sees, but the numbers that we have here are so much larger than they strictly need to be that it should be fine. No, I don't need to add another one into there. And then this is the uncommon one, which is out of order because, of course, it is. Okay, so now these output their respective things if it's available. Then we need a selector combinator. Right, where's a selector combinator? I know I have some of those in here to copy paste. No, we'll just go through here then. So then that goes in, and it is going to read from each of these, and it is going to do quality transfer. Select from signal iron plates, and signal that, transfer that to target signal of gear wheels, which we then need a constant combinator for. So you go in, you feed a signal of gear wheels into this so that you can do that. And so this should set this to the highest thing that counts. And then all we need to do now is we need to take out of this any iron plates which happen to be legendary quality. So this doesn't even need to be filtered, right? Because this should only request items into there as needed. So we get a filter there, which is filtered for legendary quality only, and I guess we'll filter this as well to blacklist legendary quality through there. And now we would just need to set the numbers in these to be somewhat better than 1,000 each. So the higher the number, the less wasteful it'll be, but it'll also mean it takes a lot longer for it to run at the higher values, and it'll potentially get stuck. Maybe. I don't know. So I guess, let's see, if we need this to come back and deliver the productivity modules to Vulcanus. That's important. So we do that. Now, you pop over to there and set recipe. Okay. So then this can just go to a box somewhere, just like that. And so the productivity modules don't exist here, so it's not going to be perfect, but it should at least mostly work. So let's put some resources in, and let's see here. this, I think it just needs more output capacity. So we just do that. So this is now just working and going at full speed. And we're accumulating all of these. Now, these are set to very high numbers of 1,050, which is going to take a very long time for them to figure out. So, let's see, how do we solve that? We are just going to want to set these down then. So, let's disconnect you again. So, an individual stack here is 100, right? So let's set these to do 100 and then down to 10, maybe? 110. You are 110. You are 110. You are 110. Okay, so this is now running, and it's just finished. Because we're only down to 3 iron plates. And we've already got a legendary out. Look at that. Okay, so now none of these are running because we only got like 50 of them. Now, the thing which is going to happen is that when the higher values become available, it's going to kick the lower value out of the machine and cause problems. But that's probably fine, because that shouldn't happen frequently, especially when we go and we set the values even higher. Because currently we're doing it at 100 just for testing purposes, basically. But I do think we're eventually going to set it like to 200 or something. Maybe 200, maybe even 300, although I don't know about that. And then it should be able to cook up pretty well. Okay, so we're about to hit 100. Alright, so we've hit 100 of these. And now it's running. And it's just doing that. And it's just going to continue doing that until we go down to 10 of them, or we get 100 rares. Doesn't look like either of those is going to happen anytime soon. Now, okay, so that is now done. It's finished all those, and now it's gotten its next recipe, and those are going through. Okay, so this is doing its thing. Transport platform is almost here. There you are. Send me down some of those guys. And some combinators while you're at it. We always need those. Okay, so how well is this working? So this... I wonder if is there some way of, like, prioritizing one output over another? Because I would really prefer this machine send into the recycler as opposed to this foundry. Now, it seems to be working properly. I mean, the recycler seems to be the main limiting factor, right? So this is going as fast as it can. Actually, It's not quite getting fed enough. Now, we could change that by making this machine go faster, or even getting a second machine in. But I don't think that's actually a good idea. I think that this is probably just fine. So this is just doing its thing. It's working perfectly well. And now we have uncommons running again. That's pretty cool. Okay, so that's going. Now, I wonder if there should be a way of compressing all this down to one decider combinator, maybe. So let's think. So we get a decider combinator, and you are going to be an each, right? So for each that's greater than 1,000, or yeah, so this is where we get the problem, because we do need to have like independent check signals for each of these. Now, maybe we can... No, that probably isn't a way of doing it. At least I can't think of it. But this is fine. I mean, it's still only 4 decider combinators, and we should be able to fit these in, like, in this internal area where they're not going to take up much space. And so that should be all fine. Okay, so this is currently running regulars, but it looks like it might be about to hit the rares, and we'll see if that causes any problems. Very well might. So it's going to force the regulars out of the machine, right? So now that has hit that. Oh, it has to be greater than 100. I think I said it too. I think I set it to greater than 100, not greater than equal to, so we need one more rare before that happens. Oh, but we did hit the uncommons. So those... Now... Yeah, so they clear out their inventory a little bit. And now they're doing this. And now the rares have hit, and now the uncommons have to do their annoying thing. And now this can run on rares for a little bit, and that should be quite efficient. Okay, so it looks like it is having some problems just physically getting items out. So I wonder how we resolve that. Especially when it changes recipe. So when it changes recipe, it often gets stuck for a little bit before it can output all the items. But, like, that's probably fine, right? It's probably not a huge deal. Yeah, it should be okay. I think I actually just saw us get another legendary iron plate, so that's also working nicely. Okay, so this works with seemingly minimal losses, and it's just successfully running through. And so now I think what we do is we set the trigger conditions up to like 300. At least, let's do 300 for like the first 2, and then keep the rares and epics relatively low. Maybe? Let's see, so this storage, it's got a lot of stacks, so it should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine. So now, all we have to do is just reconfigure this ever so slightly to make it better for copy pasting. So I think we should be able to squeeze these machines like into this area, right? And that would be good, although probably doesn't matter having them out here. Probably not going to do anything back that way. So yeah, we're not making full use of the recycler, and it's hard to tell what exactly the limiting factor is for this, because it's all like relatively close. But this machine is working non-stop, so I think the iron gear wheel input is the major limiting factor here, which is fine. Now, I don't like how long it's been since this got a recipe. Those are at 104. So what's happened there? Oh, it's because we set this up to 300, right, obviously. So it just has to take its time building up resources. Okay, yeah, let's think about the output now. Do we want these to be individual passive provider chests, or do we want to coordinate them all up? I think individual passive provider chests is fine, probably. Okay. So then the only thing to do is we copied this. Actually, let's just copy it once to figure out how exactly the intermediate connection is going to work. So we copy you, paste you right there. You are all going to get built up real quick. And we have all the resources we need, apparently, to build this. And then it's just putting the molten iron in. And the molten iron, we can get a lot of molten iron just up here doing this sort of thing. It actually looks like we do need to spend a little bit more time thinking about this, so our inserters here are apparently not fast enough. So let's just get a couple more into there. Like so, and that should make sure that we have all the stone output that we need once those get built. Okay, down here, this has all been built up. So now we just sort of connect you across like that. And yeah, let's now just blueprint this. So this is iron, legendary, scalable, maybe? Make a blueprint of that. And, we need to get we need to get the pipes down a couple more. I think just like that. So if we were to paste this in, then yeah, the pipes would line up. So let's get rid of you. And then go to here, copy paste this, and this is iron, legendary, scalable. And now, if we want to scale this, we just pop this down, like so, and it all just gets built. And the only thing that we have to worry about now is just the molten iron supply itself, and I guess we need the occasional roboport as well. Alright. So that should provide us with a good solid chunk of iron. And then if we go back up here, oh, these all need power. So let's get those in. And then there's still... Okay, so we set up this second output for stone, but we never actually connected it to anything. So let's get you out there. And that should be that. Apparently we don't have any of the slow underground belts. So let's just... Should those be upgraded? No, we don't have any of those either. What's going on? This is the place where those get produced. They should definitely be produced. We have 100 of them. Okay, no, they did show up eventually. That's fine. Let's just get like a... Let's just get a box back here to store up a couple of those, just so that we have them. Not hugely necessary, but just so that I don't have to constantly be thinking about it. So yeah, now, as long as we want more legendary iron, we just copy-paste this blueprint down over and over and over again, and it's like relatively efficient in terms of how it uses the modules. So that is pretty cool. Now this setup up here is... Okay, we might as well make that a passive provider chest so that we can grab those things. And this whole setup over here was for testing a different way of doing things, which I'm convinced is just kind of a stupid way of doing it. So what we want to do then is just... We still want to like use all those resources though. Don't want them to be wasted. So let's tear all of that stuff down. And then we've got all these items here on this belt, which we are just going to then real quick bring back up to there. And this gets disconnected. So now all of these items should filter back up through this system and eventually get turned into legendary quality. And that will probably cause a bit of a disruption for a while. And we need to feed the rest of these guys in as well. And we also have some up there which we need to deal with. Now let's just dismantle those. There's not that many of them anyways. Okay, so that's all that. And these systems down here are working properly. And we have the occasional legendary quality. And I wonder, there should be some way of like counting. Yeah, actually, let's just do this for fun. So let's just get arithmetic combinator, read from you, read hand contents pulse, and then you are input of legendary iron plates plus check signal maybe, and then the output check signal. Alright, so now we have that, and we feed it back into itself for storage. And theoretically, this should just count up how many legendary iron plates this first one produces. And that hopefully will be some decent non-zero number. Although it's going to be in massive bursts, right? Because once the epic qualities hit 100, we're going to receive a ton of them all at once. Okay, actually, here's something. This is still going through regular qualities. Oh, right, I keep forgetting that I set the numbers of requests up to 300. So yeah, this is doing that. But the rares are now at 100, so that is going to run for a bit. So yeah, now this takes all those, makes gear wheels, and the cycle continues. So that's that. And this has recorded 1, so we are successfully counting up those, and it's not a huge number, but it is something. And so now that's going back to just regular old gears. Oh, because gears are set to be active even though they got superseded by the rares. The regulars were still active, so they start back up again despite the fact that they had gotten down to like 150 or whatever. So that's fine. So the thing to be worried about would be that these machines can't keep up. So theoretically, if this recycler were running at 100%, then this machine would fall behind because this is outputting 6.4 per second. This can only use 3.49 per second, so we'd have an issue. In practice, we should be fine. So in practice, this should output few enough items per second that like this is not running anywhere near 100%. It's closer to like 50% probably. So this is 4.89, this is 2.18. Okay, now it's deactivated temporarily. Yeah, so this is 2.18. And 2.18 plus 4.89 is 7.1-ish, which is more than half, but not that much more than half. So it's actually going to be pretty close in terms of the ratios here. So who knows? If we have a problem, we can just throw more productivity modules into here and fewer quality modules. And then that'll slow down the production of these, which should help keep things a little bit more under control. Who knows? Okay, so that's just doing its thing. And all the rest of these are also running. So I think that is good, and I think we just leave that as is for now, and we check back to Novice to see what's going on here. So back on Novice, we have plenty of inputs, and we don't have enough production speed. So one important thing which I learned is that speed modules don't have a chance of lowering production quality. They just have a chance of... They just lower the chance of raising quality. So, if we... Okay, now this whole thing is broken. Actually, it's just waiting on spider eggs, which is not at all surprising, I have to say. So, step one is to just increase the quality of these modules so that the chance is higher. And then step two is going to be to increase the amount of biter egg production, which we should be able to do. Now let's check back here. Quality module production. What are you waiting for? So you don't have any blue circuits. You are fine but waiting. You are fine but waiting. So why is blue circuit production no good? So, blue circuit production is no good because this makes 0.14 blue circuits per second, which is not enough. And then all of this is going, but its outputs have been disabled from coming down to here for some reason. And that means we only have 11 of those. Okay, so let's pop you off of enable disable and just get some of these guys going through. And it's like 3 or 4 to 1 ish in terms of how many of these it takes to produce anything. So that's all going. Now if we check back up here, we'll find that green circuits and plastic are now the limiting factors. The iron plates, at least currently, are here. And we can keep scaling this. So these guys are bringing back iron plates at legendary quality. And they have plenty of storage space to do more of that. So let's just go to our blueprints and... oh, I never put this in the blueprint bar, did I? So that goes into there. And then let's just keep scaling this a couple more times until we run out of resources to build with. Okay, so Vulcanus is out of recyclers for now. Now where... okay, we can send those down though, because Transport Platform conveniently has them. So those go down, and now this gets to all scale up even more. So that should be doubling this production. Although obviously it's hard to say how much this setup has, like, how much of our overall production this setup is doing. Because we do have these guys up here, which are very fast in terms of their outputs. Okay, so these are still... they're output full every so often while they're outputting stone. So let's get additional inserters on there to help get that stone out faster. And then hopefully the molten iron supply doesn't do anything funky. Okay, we need to continue bringing drone port coverage down to here. So this top one has produced like 19 legendary iron plates, which isn't terrible at all. Alright, so this is doing its thing. Now what we need is like the exact same thing, but for copper, basically. And it should be literally like exactly identical, I think. So, let's think. Is that right? It should be everything is the same process, except we just have to set all of these over to be copper instead of iron gear wheels. And obviously we need to do copper input instead of this iron input. So let's get that going. We're going to bring the Spidertron over here and build that on this side of the lava lake. Okay, now we can just copy-paste this entire setup and rotate you horizontally so that the stone outputs are headed towards the lava lake, and pop you down, and then Spidertron can get building. Okay, now let's make sure to connect this up to the drone network and the power network. So that all is going to get built. Now we just need to set you to be molten copper from lava instead. And paste all that across. Okay, so this has now figured out that it has stuff available. And all those get built. We need to get a couple more power poles in just to cover some missing spots. Okay, so step one is to get the, where is it? The offshore pump into here and connect that into this. So that all goes across, and that should provide us with our lava. Then step two is to take these belts here and send them off into the lava lake. And I don't know, something like that should be good enough, probably. And now we just combine them off so that we don't have to deal with any of this stone. And power those up. Okay. So, the last thing we need to pop into this is the calcite input, which is just going to be like this. And you can just request calcite. And request like 150 of it, just so that we have a decent amount of it on hand. So that should produce our molten copper. And just have to wait for the calcite to make its way down. Okay, are drones trying to make this shortcut and getting stuck? Yeah, they probably are. So let's make sure that this shortcut is easier to make by just bringing drone ports up through this area. And we can just keep going like that. And then just one more ought to do it, just to sort of cover in this area. So now that's all officially connected up. So that should be fine. And now we've got plenty of calcite, and molten copper is output full. The stone is all gone. Very nice. Okay, so now we don't need to deal with all of this extra complicated nonsense. We just need to paste you in. And how do we want this to scale? I think just vertically downwards should be fine, just like the other one. And let's have this face this way, because the lava pool is right here, so having all of our technology stuff in facing that direction should help it out. So now that's pasted in. We need to set all of these. So instead of gear wheels, you are copper cable. And paste that across. Now, these, instead of iron plates, are copper plates. And we just have to set those across. And keep the rarities the same everywhere. Then we do this one. So there we go. We just set all these over, and there's... If I had been clever, I could have, like, set things up in order to be specifically easily changeable, but I didn't, so here we are doing this. Alright, so all of those get set across. And now this selects from signals copper plates and outputs to signals copper cables. This gives signals copper cable. Okay, so now we have to copy each of these down. So now this should be all set up and ready to go. And we need more quality modules. Do we have any of those? No, apparently not. Okay, that's fine. This entire bottom setup has nothing, basically. So that's a bit annoying. But it should be getting more. So you can go back to Novice to pick up some more quality modules. Got 18 of them. And now you are short on green circuits. And yeah, we're just overall short on green circuits because not enough copper wire. Okay. So this is working, right? Yes, this is working. It's just slow. And that is perfectly fine. So yeah, that's perfectly fine. Nothing special to see going on there. It's just doing its thing. So now we just need that to get back and then all the way back down. So these are all running. And they have already produced like a decent chunk each. This one's showing 30. And the rest of them are doing their thing. So the storage here, nothing has accumulated too much. So if any of these were above their like 300 marks, then we'd have an issue. But it looks like we are successfully getting through things just about fast enough. Now we'll have to check with the copper wire because the speeds are all going to be different. Okay, I guess this top one is like mostly functional. We're just missing a couple. So we can connect that up and just see what happens. Is there enough space there? No, there isn't. Okay, so we need to bring the molten copper down to here, past all that stuff, and then into that. Okay, so now we're just missing that one elbow joint up there before this can all start working. Okay, so yeah, here's the problem, right? This produces at 11.9 per second. These guys consume at 12.8 per second. So unlike the other one, in this one the recycler is going to be running continually. Okay, so what I think we need to do then is get one just additional logic in here. So you can read this and output to there. So you are going to read if probably just copper plates baseline are greater than 300. So let's think. We need this to run when there'd otherwise be nothing for the recycler to do. Okay, so let's say if you are... Gosh, okay, how do I do this? So if there's lots of items in here, then this is going to have stuff to do, which means this is going to be busy. Meaning you need to run only when there aren't many items in there, basically. So, well, that is greater than 300. No, so while that's less than 300, and then we output a check signal, or iron plate or copper plates are less than... How does this work? So this is going to occupy this and fill it up with stuff. So while those are less than 10, or they're less than 300 and check signal equals 1, then you output check signal equals 1, and you are going to need to do that to loop into yourself. So then you output the check signal, and you are going to be enable disable on check signal equals 1. Okay, so let's check. This is no ingredients. Okay, maybe there's just an easier way of doing this. Maybe you don't need to be connected to that at all. Maybe you just read contents. Okay, actually no. You read working, check signal, and then you don't even need to exist. So you are read working, check signal, and you are enable disable check signal equals 0. So you should just fill in the gaps, basically. So that you should just fill in the gaps so that this is always working, more or less. Okay, you're not doing that. Okay, so how do we do this? So now the problem is that this spends too much time disabled and this doesn't have enough access to anything. So let's disconnect you, and let's get a decider combinator in. And we... I think we need to, instead of that being read working... So what other information do we have? Read ingredients? No. Read contents? So you can be if everything is less than 10, then output the check signal, and then you feed that into you. Okay, so that's definitely not right. So I think that has to be everything greater than 10. So you should just run as long as this doesn't have too much junk in it. And yeah, so this is still just being output full a large portion of the time. So I don't know how to solve that. So obviously we could just we could just have this not be a foundry and just do that, and it would be more efficient. But that is a bit annoying because I don't want to lose the efficiency for no reason. And it'll also just slow things down. So I do think ultimately we need to read this. So yeah. How do we make this run only when we want it to? The whole read working thing was good, but we need to check just how much of a buffer it has. Okay, wait. What about you? What if we disconnect that and then you read from here? So you are read working, control signal, check equals 1. And then you are enable, disable, check equals 0. So this is basically doing the opposite of what we want right now. Okay, wait, but no, but now this is running, and because it's running, this is stopped. So that's kind of correct, right? So this outputs 1.6 copper per second. This can use 1.7 copper per second, so it should be almost exactly correct, not counting the inefficiencies from having to swap over every so often. So because of that, this is basically the limiting factor here, I think. I don't know, they're very close, but the foundry doesn't need to run often, I think, is the point. I don't know. We're probably going to have to come back to that and check it again later. For now, we go back to here. This one has produced 50, and it hasn't been that long. So that, I mean, all of these guys together are certainly going to be producing pretty solid numbers. Transport platform is back here. It's got some quality modules, but not many. Should be enough, at least for now. Okay, so this is still working, and actually, I just realized EM plants exist. We don't have any of them on Vulcanus, though. But if we go back over to Novice, we're using EM plants, right? Instead of those other things. So these are a decent bit faster, and they have higher productivity bonuses, which is cool. And we should be able to use those for both iron plates and copper wires. So let's actually get those requested up. Send you back to Vulcanus, and you are just going to import these from Novice because Novice has some of them. So you're going to just pick up some EM plants and bring them over to Vulcanus for upgrades. And we're going to have to slightly increase the size of things because those are bigger, but it should be fine. And as far as power goes, either solar panel or fusion generators on their own would be enough to keep the power running, and we've got both. So there's no problems on that front. Okay, so transport platform is back at Novice, and it is getting its EM plants on the way. So that is all good. So those get delivered up, and pretty soon this will be all good to go. How is this running? This is up to 52. And still no massive overfills of anything, and these machines work fairly well. So that's working. This one over here, less so. It's working a lot less well than the other ones, but it is working. So this outputs 11.9 per second. This is basically just going as fast as it can. Now, we could use quality machines. We have quality recyclers, and do we have quality assembly machines? Is that a thing we can do? Maybe? It should be theoretically possible, I just don't know if I've done it. Or, like, specifically theoretically possible with the resources I have. I just don't know if I've actually gone and done it yet. It was like a search, right? Assembly machine 1. Yeah, we just have one place on that whole planet that we make those, so yeah. Don't have any productions of those. That's still fine. We do have, though, over on Fulgora, we have a production line for quality recycling machines. So that's an option to help speed this up. Get this machine going faster so it can deal with the whole loop better. Okay, so speaking of transport platform, you're good. You've got the EM plants, so you can bring those back to Vulcanus and get yourselves up and running. Now these guys are just making their loops as usual. And yeah, nothing really to see there. So now these are all doing their thing. And we just need to get more stuff out here so that we can upgrade to get more stuff so we can upgrade more. Just sort of stuck in the scaling hole a little bit, but it is getting better. So now we have a whole bunch more iron plate production than we did a while ago. So this is still stuck at 52, which, because it's just been doing regulars for a bit. But we should be hitting some rares in a moment. And there we go. So that's just filtering through to the new recipe, and there we go. So now we're running rares, and that should hopefully get our odds a little bit better. It's like a 24% chance. So like 1 in 4 gives us an epic, and then 1 in 16 will give us a legendary quality from here. And then obviously the rest will just do their thing as well. Okay, it's done with those, swapped back down to uncommons. So yeah, that's all working properly. This one up here is tough to say. All the numbers are within the expected ranges. And so this is running and it's cycling down all that stuff. Yeah, the copper scaling is a bit slow, I will say. The fact that we can only do this at this relatively slow speed. There isn't some other recipe in here which only takes copper wires that I have been overlooking, right? I mean, yeah, not that I'm aware of. Can't imagine any of these being only copper wires, and then certainly none of these are. So yeah, I think just this is the best that we can do, and it's still fine. It's just kind of awkward, but it's kind of awkward, but mostly functional. We are also, like, still low on quality modules to get this fully functional. We've only made 1 legendary so far, which is not surprising since we haven't really gotten anywhere on the higher qualities. Nothing like this production over here, which is now up to 55. And it looks like something just stopped off and requested all of the legendary iron plates, so off they go. Vulcanist Support 2, which has showed up. Transport platform is still on its way for us to do this. Once we get that increased productivity and everything, it's going to be pretty cool. Okay, so back over to Novice. So the big thing we're missing is we have a decent supply of plastic for this. So yeah, plastic supply is good, iron plate supply is good. It is the copper wires which are currently like the main limiting factor. And let's see, holmium plate supply could be better, but I mean we've got plenty of backlogs for that, so yeah, holmium plate supply is fine, although not great. So this is just doing its thing and relying on just epic quality modules, which is very much suboptimal. So yeah, basically in terms of like priorities, we finish off this copper plate setup here. We get this cooking a little bit better. Then we move over to the holmium plates and or plastic. So yeah, currently we have fully scalable setup for iron plates. Copper is a work in progress. We're still very much working on getting the copper through. Then we have to get the plastic and holmium plates done. So holmium plates obviously on Fulgora. Plastic, I think we're going to try doing it on Gleba just for fun. And then once we have all of those, then we can see how that works out. And yeah. And once we have all those things scaled up, then we should be able to just have all of the legendary quality modules that we need. And legendary productivity modules should also be available once we do biter egg scaling as well. And that will be cool. Alright, so this is here. So you pop down the EM plants and the quality modules down to Vulcanus. So those can both drop down, and the quality modules that we have should barely be able to fill in these machines here. And that should help a lot, just having the raw input be better. Okay, so they've registered as being here, so they're going to be on their way now. Okay, so now, EM plants, you can make copper cables. Oh, you can't make gear wheels with these. Okay, that's a little bit annoying. Is there any just pure iron-based thing that you could make? No. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. But we can make the copper cables with these, and that should be more efficient, in theory. So this takes 4 plates to 12. So it's twice as fast as this is. And that should be good. So, the only thing we need to do for this, we need to get new building in, and we need to read from there to there, and set recipe. Okay, so that should show up. And then, obviously, for the secondary ones, oh wait, we also need to get the modules in. And it can handle more modules, which is cool. And again, I don't know what exactly the correct ratio is, but I know it's at least 1 productivity module is better. So now this is a whole lot faster. And it has its built-in productivity bonus. So that should be a big improvement. Should be a pretty big improvement. Okay, so now we are going to deconstruct that, because that's just a second row. Also get rid of you. Then we want to copy this whole setup and paste it down. And apparently we didn't quite get the power pole in. And there we go. So now let's just blueprint all this. And this is going to be legendary copper scalable. Make that blueprint, paste it, and see if we have the resources on hand to be able to add all these new things in. I don't know about the module supply. I think the module supply probably won't be enough for this. Yeah, definitely not. Okay, so let's just chop that then, so that we don't cause any waste of molten copper. Speaking of which, how much molten copper does this use? This uses like 20 something. And this produces like 20 billion. Okay. good to know that molten copper is never going to be an issue for this. Is it the same story over here? These guys take more molten iron, but still should never have serious issues with that. Oh, we missed a power pole in there. So yeah, I mean, this can just scale like crazy, and the molten iron, molten copper is the only like input over time that we need to give it. And other than that, it's just a matter of getting the modules to build everything, which is going to be quite the challenge, but it is what it is. So this is working, right? So none of these have reached over like 300, which is what we want. And did we get the settings in here? No, I think we wound up not needing those settings to exist, potentially. Alright, so this is all going. And making copper. Not much, but some. And some is all you need for a scalable thing like this. We just need to be able to produce literally any amount of legendary copper, and then we can just scale this up through the roof until we have all that we need. So on the iron side, this is all doing its thing. Nothing crazy going on there. So yeah, that's basically that. Okay, now I think at some point we had done legendary tungsten scaling. I don't know. We have literally none of it though. Oh, we never put modules in these, so we're just throwing tungsten away then. Very cool. Do we have any modules at all? No. Okay. Yeah, let's just dismantle that, because that's objectively just throwing perfectly good tungsten into a furnace. So we wanted this to be able to like make legendary quality foundries and such. And we'll have to get around to that at some point. But there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into those. So yeah, let's leave that for now. Okay, so back over to Novice. We have 7 spares. Plenty of everything except green circuits. So yeah, green circuits are the major limiting factor here. And they are mostly waiting on copper wire. So we can theoretically help a tiny bit with that from our new setup here. Because, yeah, I mean, we have some amount of legendary copper now being produced, but it's not great. It's like pretty bad, actually, because we just don't have enough stuff to get very far with it. We need more modules in order to get more stuff, in order to get more modules. The constant trap. Now let's go over here to the legendaries from scratch, and this is broken. So you are output full. You are output full. So we're not getting any just regular old superconductors. Alright, Fulgora support. You're supposed to be the one that provides those, right? You've got all sorts of stuff in your inventory. Superconductors aren't one of the things you have, though, so why not? So you aren't getting any plastic. Okay, so where is your plastic even supposed to come from? It's supposed to, okay, I see. I see. So your plastic is supposed to go out onto this belt and then go forwards. But this is full of copper cables and electronic circuits, because this is full of all that stuff. Just lost a power pole on Novice, actually. What's going on with that? Okay, that is a bit of an issue. But it should be fine overall, I think. We might just need to push the artillery out a little bit further. But, I mean, this looks like it should be okay in general. Alright, so back to Fulgora. We were staring at this. So you're looking for iron plates from there. You're looking for copper cables from there. Okay, so let's just get another thing in here. Ah, this is so cramped. This is so unbelievably cramped. So, if you go in like that, then this belt can go forward to you, and then input, and then this machine then outputs, let's see, what's it going to get? It's going to get the outputs of this, which are copper cables, iron plates. Yeah, so I think just copper cables and iron plates, and maybe occasionally copper plates, but those are filtered, so it won't. Okay, so then you just need to output back to here and just have that be a loop, basically. Alright, so now this is working and producing plastic again. And no problems with that. So that just takes iron plates and destroys them, basically. This takes whatever excess stuff and recycles it down again. Alright, and now we have this guy gets plastic, which means it can make these again. And that should get all of this up and running once more. Although the entire thing has been deadlocked for a while because of it. We've got this whole gigantic buffer to fill, and yeah, that's gonna be, it's gonna be a little bit before that's fully functional. Scrap supply is still looking good though. So this, obviously all doing its thing. Transport platform, do you have anything worth delivering? No, we don't need to deliver more recyclers right now. So you can just head back to Novice. You can just head back to Novice, and then we'll just ignore that for a little bit. So, over here, how has this been going? We've made 11. 11 legendary copper plates. It's not a huge amount. Not a huge amount at all, but it is something. It certainly is a start, at least. Yeah, we really need this whole loop to get working again, so that we can fill in more of these, because just 2 of them is not a lot. So over here on the gears, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, over on the gears we have 8. Over here on the wire, we have 2. That's a pretty big difference. Now, the built-in productivity bonus here will help a lot, but it's still not very fast. And you are showing output full a large portion of the time, which is very much not what we want to have. For the most part, it's probably okay, though. And the bulk of the power consumption is in the foundries. And probably a lot of that is in these most recent couple of foundries that I've been placing with lots of modules in them, like these guys. What are you, 21 megawatts each? Now, you're not obviously running often, so that's a little bit of a theoretical cost, but boy, that would be crazy if we were using a whole lot of copper. Alright, so this is just doing its thing. There's really not much for me to do here. It's running, it's not overflowing anything. It's just being fine. The gear wheel side of things is also just doing great. We have like 100 out of this first machine alone. And that is moving 6.4 per second through there compared to these, which are only moving 1.6 per second. So there's a pretty massive difference in terms of just the speed of the recycling here. I don't think there's anything that I can do about that, though. Like, again, I've looked. I don't think there are any good alternate recipes to cycle through. Like, none of these are relevant. The ore smelting is going to be, like, the default recycling is just going to be very slow, so we don't want to do that. And then, like, obviously these aren't craftable. None of these guys are going to be just copper. There's firearm magazines, which are just iron, which would be interesting if there weren't 20 billion other things which are just iron to work with. Alright. Yeah, I think heat pipes were so close. Copper and steel, that was almost would have been super useful. Repair packs, nothing there of interest. Yeah. Yeah, there's no better option than just the cable cycling. So we'll just leave that to it. So that is just going to be doing its thing. Oh, that's fun. You can see it sort of spooling up the cables inside the plant in the animation. I didn't know that was a thing. I wonder if... is the animation different for, like, different things? Hard to say. The info overlay thing. I don't even remember how to get rid of that. Like Alt. Okay, no, it is the same animation for everything. It just happens to look very, very good for the copper cables. Neat. Okay, so here on Fulgora, we have this whole giant setup over here, which mostly just destroys excess stuff in hopes of getting holmium. It doesn't even do a very good job of destroying the excess stuff. We do have a couple of random legendary items over there. That's cool. But it's really not trying to do that. Down here at the holmium supply, we are not doing great. Alright, yeah, I think everything is good, and we just sort of have to give it a minute. So this is building right back up. No problems there. And hopefully that will mean that novice direct production of these guys should also be building up eventually. One of these guys should start delivering those back. And they're not doing that right now, that's for sure. Okay. So, let's see. What do we need to work on in the meantime? I guess we can start figuring out Gleba. So, on Gleba, the thing that we need is... where is it? We need a massive amount of plastic production, because we're going to be doing the plastic legendary quality stuff here on Gleba. So, do we do plastic directly, or do we do legendary Bioflux and Yumiko Mash? So Yumiko Mash is just like directly from the fruits, right? So that's relatively easy. And then Bioflux is just directly from the mash and the jelly. So if we wanted to... Gosh, it's been so long since I've looked at this planet. All of these have tier 2 modules. That's crazy. Okay. So, if we wanted to have massive quantities of Yumiko Mash recycling, I don't know if that would give us the fruit back, or whether it would just go directly back to itself. I think it would probably just give us Yumiko Mash back, though I'm not 100% sure of that, obviously. I've never done it. Now, there isn't like some weird biochamber recipe for this, right? Yes, the biochamber recipes for Yumiko processing and jelly nut processing are the same. So, in order to get our legendary plastic and other legendary items, actually, what other legendary items can we get from this? So we can get bioplastic. I guess we can get legendary rocket fuel. I don't know what we would ever need that for. Legendary sulfur would be possible this way with spoilage. And there's that one type of module that we can get here, as well as carbon fiber and such. Okay, so yeah, we basically if we get those two things set up legendary, we get everything on Gleba legendaried, and then it's fine. And having the legendary things spoil slower, so that's just going to be a bit convenient just in itself. Now, what we need to do though is we need we need some way of dealing with like the massive quantities here. Now, there's no... Yeah, so our spore cloud isn't like hitting any of these guys out here. It probably will eventually, though. We're gonna have to deal with that at some point. But what we need to do is just figure out, like... We're gonna need to scale up Gleba so much to do this. So we would need more space for that. So we have this soil, right? We have... Just somewhere in here we had some ability to produce like special terraforming stuff. Special landfill. Where's the special landfill? Here's one. We've got thousands of artificial jelly nut soil. That's good. Do we have the same thing for the other type? Where is that? It's just right up here. Slightly less, but still thousands. Very cool. Okay, so yeah, we should be able... Although there's... In order to do anywhere in the biome, we need these. So we need to import biter eggs here to Gleba. And then that will expand where we can place our soil stuff. So that is the whole thing. And then we have captive biter spawners, but they're only buildable on novice, so the biter eggs are going to have to be transported manually. Because of course they are. So yeah, this is going to be a whole process. I'm just like trying to conceptualize what we need to do. So we need to scale up biter egg production on novice. Bring those biter eggs here to Gleba. Craft overgrowth soil. And then once we have overgrowth soil, which the biter eggs should really be the only especially difficult part of that process. I guess it'll take a lot of seeds and regular soil. But once we have those, then we can massively expand our farms up. And once we have massive farms, then we can use those farms to get huge quantities of fruits. And then we just cycle the fruits. Yeah, I guess we just cycle the fruits through. Although, wait a minute. Hang on. Factoripedia, do, like, these gathered from Yumiko trees, grows from Yumiko seeds. Can Yumiko seeds have quality? It doesn't say anything that they do that would have quality. It doesn't say that for a lot of these. Actually, let's just see, because if Yumiko seeds plant, if Yumiko seeds can be made to have higher quality, then theoretically maybe the trees they plant will also have higher quality and it'll just be free. That seems a bit optimistic, but you never know. It could happen. Okay. I think though that is going to be a job for another day. For now, let's just try to finish off this whole copper plate situation. So the transport platform above novice, it's got 20 quality module 3s. We need 15 of those and 4 productivity module 3s. So Vulcanus, meanwhile, is doing its thing. Novice still hasn't gotten any of those yet from Fulgora. Although it should be getting them soon. At least a delivery of them. So that side is still down. This side over here looks like it's not exactly doing much. Yeah, the copper supply is still pretty meager, but everything else looks fine. So we have plenty of plastic, seemingly plenty of iron plates. And so that is all going. Now up here, we're still mostly just waiting on the biter eggs. Yeah. Okay. So we're waiting on the biter eggs. Let's just go to transport platform and tell you to have a custom and minimum payload of 10 so that we can get those delivered up and get Vulcanus a little bit better off. Because yeah, that'll allow us to double the amount of legendary copper production here. And that's up to 45, this one's up to 15. So like they are cooking. It's not the fastest thing I've ever seen, but it is doing its thing. Although we might be overfilling with basic copper. That looks like that might be a thing that's happening. Because that's up to 400 some now, which is higher than it ought to be. But that, again, we can just fix that by slowing down how quickly this foundry is allowed to produce. Which we'll do in the future if we need to. Alright, transport platform is still getting its productivity modules. They have quite a bit of distance to cover on ground, so I'm not terribly surprised by that. So do we see any of these guys? I have to launch those. They might just, like, be traveling. Alright, yeah, so those have showed up. So now you can go back to Vulcanus. And once you do that, we'll be able to fill this out and double this. And once this is all set up and running, then I think that will probably be it for today. Still doing a bit of a shorter stream because my cold is not quite fully recovered. We're just going to go a little bit longer, see how this is going. So this top machine has produced 115 iron plates, and it's been like, what? At most 2 hours, more like an hour and a half. So that's like pretty good. I mean, it's not incredible. It's like almost 1 per minute. And each of these doing that is not terrible at all. So that is going. This stuff up here is still cycling, obviously. We're not gonna take this apart. It's perfectly fine to do what it's doing. And that's all good. Obviously we could like scrounge up some quality modules from them, but I don't think that's really necessary at all. Okay. Transport platform, right. It's not the fastest in the world. So meanwhile, up on Fulgora, this is still producing those. And has this half of everything gotten set up yet? No, still not. Fulgora support has them, though, and it's most of the way back. So when Fulgora support lands, it'll drop off all these superconductors, and that will be that. So once those superconductors drop off, our alternative quality module supply can start up again, and that isn't the fastest thing in the world, but it's, you know, every little bit counts. We don't want it to be inactive. It does produce a decent quantity, honestly. Could be a lot worse. Okay, so this is all still going, and we have 5 of those stored up there. Did you successfully drop off any of those? Maybe a couple? It seems like that the supply of there might be a bit lower. No, you didn't. Why not? Okay, you go back to Novice, and we're going to set that to an and. Yeah, no, let's actually just do 150 seconds past as your only condition there. Just so that you spend your time in orbit doing the things that you need to do. No matter what happens. And then, you know, it doesn't have to be the fastest possible turnaround. As long as it just does its thing, that's fine. So there we go, launching some stuff out. There go the superconductors, and that should get this up and running again. And these don't take that many, so like it'll run it for a while, once those show up. All the rest of this stuff has had a good amount of time to build up. And they're on their way. So yeah, the superconductors are like the least of the requirements for this. Okay, I could have sworn I saw one drop something off. It must have just coincidentally passed overhead. Oh, I see. They have to fill up this whole stack inserter before it'll do anything. The stack size is like 16. They should be coming a much larger wave than this, though. I don't know why it's taking them so long. So you... Okay. So this active provider chest is sending all those guys out. And it's got these guys running again, and that's all good. Okay, there we go. So that's all up and running. Transport platform is over Vulcanus. So let's drop some modules down. And those modules will land, and then we can set up these other 2 rows, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so up here, this... I don't know, maybe everything is under control? It's kind of hard to tell. Kind of hard to tell whether they're at a nice balance or not, because it just hasn't run for that long. Up here, looks fine. Yeah, so those have been doing their thing for a while now, so they shouldn't have issues. Okay. So all of those get delivered. We're missing that one. Alright, so now we can connect that up and get these 2 running as well, and double up our production of legendary copper. Alright, so that is all that, and science still not running. Fulgora, I assume you're... Yeah, so the Fulgora superconductors are all just going into this box still. None of them have made it past to these, but it'll get there eventually. Not in a huge rush for science at this point, because we're just doing infinite researches, right? It's not exactly a big deal. Alright, so that is going to just have some time to cook, and then the rest of this is going. And these are once more running to produce, hopefully, some legendary quality modules. Main production is very much down here at this point, though. And it's also not going tremendously fast, but copper wire is copper wire, and it's going through. Alright, so I think we are going to wrap up there. Obviously ending a bit early again. Hopefully next week I'll be fully 100% cured and we can do some proper full-length streams, but my throat is sore from talking. So I think we're gonna wrap up here. Thanks for hanging out. I will be streaming again on Monday, doing more Factorio, where hopefully we can start working on more of this stuff. And just expanding the copper wire production out is our main priority at this point. So, thanks for hanging out, and that's about it. I will see you guys next time.